What is going on, guys, and welcome to the channel. Welcome to the live stream. We're going to be going over some of the top stocks we are watching into next week. A couple things. I'm starting about 2 minutes earlier than I usually start. A couple things before we jump on in. What I want to mention is if you hear some noises, currently dog George, which we had in the prior video, picking some stocks. He's snoring. He just had surgery today. He had to get fixed at the shelter. So if you hear his snoring, that's him. But other than that, we hopefully shouldn't, may have a slight interruption here and there, but hopefully everything should be good to go. So looking at futures as of right now, a little bit red, not going to lie. VIX is up, so potential volatility, small caps, NASDAQ, Dow, S&P, they all look like they want to open red, at least as of right now. We know all this stuff, how this can change. So hopefully everyone had a good weekend. I'll let people get into the chat. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button, guys, so we get more ideas flowing in the chat. This is not necessarily all about, anything that I have to say. I have a huge list, so we got a lot to go over. A lot of ideas, certainly on this list, but the more people that throw out awesome ideas, the more ideas you guys have, hopefully, and kind of back and forth. That's the name of the game. I say that a lot, but that is kind of what it's all about here, right? So as of right now, futures are a little bit red. We'll take that into account. We'll see how this goes. George is your guy. He's okay. He had, hopefully we'll see how he is tomorrow. He's just out cold on tons of meds right now. So he just had the surgery. But that said, let's see. What are we going to dive into? What I want to dive into first, any ETFs, I would say, to be honest with you, thing to note is I was looking back the past couple of years, April has been seasonally a very bullish month for the markets. So I would say if there's a place to look, for example, I want to look at NDX, the NASDAQ 100. This is going to be a key one to watch in my eyes, because I think if we're looking at, if we do see a seasonally strong month across the overall markets, can we see more upside, tons of upside in SPY? Can SPY go to 420 plus? And would SPY going to 420 on 420 be surprising? No, wouldn't be surprised. That could be honestly what happens. That could be a massive move. So that's an ETF right there in a seasonally strong month. However, I would say I would lean towards more tech, to be honest. So honestly, looking at some of the ARK funds, the ARK ETFs, those could be some really good ones. And I own a bunch in just a long-term portfolio. I spread some money out across all of them, so I have some diversification there. And they've been pulling back with tech. So I think it's not a terrible idea to take a peek at some of those ARK funds. NNDM, we can talk about. That one is one that I have on my list as well as a possible reversal type of play set up into the coming weeks with tech. So NASDAQ is coming to a key point. NASDAQ up over this 13 NDX that we're looking at right here, NASDAQ 100 index. Over 13,300 is going to be key on NASDAQ. That's an area we've been getting rejected by quite a bit. So watching that area for sure going forward. But if we take a peek at SPY, looking at how the S&P's done lately, broke out of our downtrend right here, pushing up massively on Friday. It doesn't look like it's going to come up and break out to all-time highs, but it's not an uncommon situation, right, where you have a big breakout and you pull back. Now, the question is going to be, though, for SPY, right, when it pulls back, and it looks like it wants to, at least futures are indicating a potential small pullback, at least for right now. Is that going to mean anything? Does it mean anything? No, it doesn't mean anything. But if we come back down, you want to see if it comes back down to like 390-ish, maybe, at the worst case, right? It could come down a lot more, right? But 390 or so could be a decent spot for it to kind of hold up support at that prior breakout point. That was a prior resistance right there, and then bounce off that level and go higher. So the other idea here is also if SPY goes to 400, if it breaks out over 400, then you want to see it pulling back and showing 400 to be support before the next leg up. So those are some areas to watch on SPY and just to give a sense of the overall market. But that said, right, a lot of small caps are taking some significant hits, right? So a lot of those small cap plays, it's not the swingers market. And so the way that I see swings as of right now is you have to look for your value plays and your growth plays. So where do you see a company that will benefit in the longer term? Like what companies do you actually like? It's not necessarily as much about technicals and sector rotation as much as it always is. Right now, we're kind of seeing the NFT sector. We're seeing, has been pretty hot. If Bitcoin gets back up over 60K, which we can talk about Bitcoin too briefly here, just to get a sense, Bitcoin is currently at this downtrend line and it's getting rejected for now. But if Bitcoin gets back up over the looks like 57,000 and starts pushing on up to 60,000 plus, then Bitcoin, those crypto plays could be another really hot sector that we can push into or rotate back into, because you see sectors, they don't just usually have a one and done. They come back. There's usually an event or something happens to kind of get the sectors going again. And so we'll see how that goes in terms of the crypto space. So that's definitely something to watch going forward as well. Let's see. HOFV will be in that NFT space, so I'm kind of curious to see how a lot of these plays go. It is up a lot. $5 I would like to see becoming new support. Ideally, we'll see if this does hold up. But I don't know. HOFV may be looking at kind of like a 3-day rule here. So on you have a pretty big spike up on news or a big spike up on volume. What you many times see is that 3 days later you get the next push, right, or the next pop. And sometimes that pop becomes a bigger push and then breaks out over the prior highs, or sometimes it just gives you a little pop for the short term. Maybe it gets back up over to like 650 and then it pulls back on down. Why is that? Because you kind of see a lot of the shorts and a lot of the sellers rotating out of the stock. They're covering their short after a couple days later. If they got in on a short around $7, yeah, they're covering this thing down towards like $5 potentially, and that's why you can kind of see something like that happen. So that's kind of the idea. The member stuff, the way that I did the member stuff is I just use it as like a way, because people complained a while back about, they feel like they have to get their voice heard, they had to donate so that it pops up. I don't want people to have to do that and like continuously do that. So I just said that that's like an easier way to go about it. So I can like see your name green, and those are the kind of the ones that I'll notice first in terms of questions and comments. So it's also just kind of a way to give back. I don't charge anything for anything here, guys. So that's all I have. In terms of why I have that. No means, is it going to be like, oh, if I don't see that, member sign, am I not going to look at the message? No, I'll look at messages for sure. Sometimes when things get crazy, back when we had, a lot of craziness going on, the chat got pretty crazy. And so it was kind of tough to decipher. I don't want to do like a members only chat, because that's kind of like defeating the purpose, right? So we'll see. We'll see. As long as things stay relatively calm, everyone's respectful in the chat, we're pretty good. NNDM, kind of looking like the W potential. We had this breakout of this downtrend push up. I think I took a day trade here from like $8 to $9 or something along those lines back when that happened. So it was a nice little trade. But we can kind of see NNDM, we got a little bit of a downtrend right here, roughly. So I would like to see NNDM getting back up over 950 for that downtrend to be broken. And I would obviously, after that, be looking for it to clear back up over these highs, which is probably also going to line up with this 50 SMA. So up around $12 is key. Over 12, NNDM looks like it wants to get back up to where it was a couple months back. So that's definitely something I'm watching. The canal, I don't know if that's going to do much to the market tomorrow, but we'll see. I definitely think that's going to be a key. You want to be watching, I think we're going to want to be watching oil prices and the shippers, the Greek shipper plays. We can dive into some of those. I mean, the reasons why these could get kind of pumped this week because of that canal, and they were all up, it looks like, after hours for the most part. C Energy is one of them. CTRM, a popular stock that a lot of people, been talking about for a while. It seems like it's getting a lot of attention, or, it seems like for whatever reason, I've seen a lot of chatter on it in prior months. So definitely one to watch. It's come down to this area that looks like a better buy range. And it's kind of teetering along that line, that area around that 75 to 80 cent line. So definitely something that I'm watching. But the question is going to be, okay, is because this canal is blocked, these companies have to divert around different ways, which, jacks up the shipping price, the cost, right? Jacks up some of the prices. So that's why these could make some potential plays. And these are not the best companies, the most part. So the reason why these stocks like to run, right? You see these stocks have massive spikes. They have these spikes for a reason. Although a lot of them have been actually pushing on up quite well. GLBS is one that I've gotten burned. I can't tell you how many times on GLBS with offerings. This chart looks terrible, although it's a bottomed out chart, so much lower risk. So if I had to pick a shipper that I like, to be honest, GLBS looks decent. Tops is down around an area that it dipped down to a while back, around $2 is not terrible. And then ship down around $1 is not terrible. So if I was going to take a couple of shots at some shippers, I would go GLBS, ship, and tops as my 3, and then use those whole dollar levels as my support areas that I'm looking for. So ship is $1, tops 2, and then GLBS is looking around like it's around this 4 to 5 area. So I'd be watching some of those on those shipper plays. So we'll see. I don't think it's going to make the market tank. We saw it happen last week. I don't really think it had a huge effect, but then again, I could be completely wrong. CODX came off my percentage drop. CODX was just a monster play back in the. I made a lot of money on this one a while, back here like last year. I make a lot of money, but percentage wise, when I was growing the account, yeah, it was a big winner at the time, and it could have been a lot more. It's pulled back, so I don't really want to grab this thing on a knife. So we are coming down to a favorable area though in terms of support. So if we draw, we're gonna use the box. If we draw some of this area that we had support in the past, we're coming down to some of these recent lows. We dipped down to 8 here. We dipped down to like 9 here a couple months back. We're down around 9.70. We're under 10. It could be a decent idea. I would just be waiting for a potential, confirmation of a move back up. So for me, maybe that's reclaim $10 and holding $10 as new support. Then it may make some sense for a potential entry into CODX. And that's how I would probably play about it. Stocks with potential NFT news. LGHL, by the way, meanwhile, someone also mentioned that one I think could have some NFT news as well. A lot of these stocks in the crypto space too, that have these digital exchanges, that's what you want to be looking for, like digital currency, digital exchange. You want to be looking for like some of those keywords in prior press releases and stuff like that. And so in terms of my NFT stocks, we can dive through a bunch of those. So if you want a list, we'll start off with some of the bigger ones. TKAT is one that has been running up quite a bit. Obviously, we get like $75. More of a speculation play here, but TKAT has been one that's been pushing up. This is definitely not a stock I would be looking at as a longer-term play. It's a get in, get out type of play. But if you're looking for a day trade, if all of a sudden some stock gets NFT news and it blows up, go back to some of these prior NFT stocks. TKAT, definitely one to have on your list or radar. It was the leader of the pack for quite some time, and then it has been fading out since. DLPN, I think the best ones are going to be the ones that have had actual press releases that have mentioned NFTs, right, in their press release headline. DLPN, a stock, definitely, one of those could be that 3-day rule, right, we talk about, where it pops on up, gets that NFT news, a couple of days later, it's due for its next pop. So we'll see if I would not be surprised, especially how last week went. I would not be surprised if we wake up come Monday morning and a lot of companies are coming out with these fresh press releases on NFTs. Would not be surprised. DLPN's one, HOFV as well. HOFV and DLPN are like partnering up. So these two probably run in sympathy to a degree, not perfectly, but they will run in sympathy to a degree. Some speculative other ones is WIMI is one that I have been looking at, and it's come down to a really nice spot. Just had an offering as well. I like WIMI. I think it's trading well below the offering price. I think the offering was like over $7. With weakness in the overall market as well, or at least on small caps and a lot of the stocks, it took a hit as well. So I like this one down here, down to probably 550 or so. Wouldn't really want to see it going much lower than that. It could, that's why trading is an art. It's not an exact science. And many times they like to bring it. When I say they, market makers, big money hedge funds, what the big money does to manipulate you is bring the stock right down below the VWAP, right down below your support line, right down below a key line everyone's looking at, and then they'll run it back on up. Then the buying volume comes in. You're like, hey, where'd that come from? Yeah, I'm not surprised, right? So that's kind of how it is to kind of manipulate you, get you to sell and things like that. WIMI is one we're looking at. Take a peek at what they do. Look at their website really quick, because I always like to do this type of stuff when looking at some new plays and diving into some new swings. They have some hologram type stuff, so it kind of fits the mold of what it could be a potential NFT play. It doesn't seem like it's loading up super fast. Sometimes these websites don't load super quick, especially some of these Chinese sites. I don't know what's up with that, but we can come back to that in 1 second. And then DSS is my other one that I am watching as well for an NFT related PR. Pretty big downtrend break. I think DSS gets an NFT PR, it pops on up. I've been playing it for a press release, although at the same time, no guarantees you're going to get one, right? So it's kind of I got a long list. I know it might be boring, but CUEN is one as well that I have on my list as well. So this one down around $3 seems like, or in the low threes, seems like a decent idea as well. So hopefully that's giving you guys some ideas to go off of. And then WIMI here, the website doesn't want to load up. So you guys can take a peek at that. Let's see if we can pull it up on FinViz. Sometimes they have a different site we can pull up. Let's see. No, it's the same thing. So, okay, whatever. We can come back to that later if it pops on up. Don't want to waste time on that. So that's my NFT list. I have a couple other ones, OCG and then CNET. Those are two other speculative. Some of these are just speculative plays where you're looking at stocks that potentially could have some ties in that sector, and you're looking at kind of speculative plays like that. Let's see. UK with the WeWork IPO coming. Let's take a peek. This stock is getting crushed too. This stock is down quite a bit. I don't know enough about that. There's also the Robinhood IPO coming as well. I don't know. I would like to dive into more of what's going on there, but personally, I don't. This is a bottomed out play. UK at least is a bottomed out play. Down around $3 could be a decent spot if it holds up. Although we had a wick down here to like 267.5 on the 5th, so you could have some more downside. I mean, I personally don't like. I like bottomed out plays. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time, I don't like bottomed out plays when we are still downtrending, when we haven't had more of a horizontal support or potentially starting to put in some starting to kind of uptrend and reverse. Those are the better types of at least safer bottomed out plays. You could keep playing this one and keep averaging down if you really have conviction, but that's why I don't personally like this, and especially in a market like this, I learned too much throughout August, September, October last year, right? When you just keep putting money into something that just ends up continuing to push down. Now, eventually, many of these stocks ended up reversing, had news, and popping up, and you would have killed it if you held a couple months. But do you want to tie up that capital for a couple months? Ultimately, that's going to be up to you, right? Okay, ATOS, we can mention that one as well. Sorry if I'm missing some stuff. I'm going to catch up if I can. ATOS is kind of crazy, but it has a similar chart to a lot of stocks. ATOS, I like this area, so I will say this is a solid spot. If I had to take an entry in the low twos, under 225, down to like $2, is a solid spot. Don't really want to see it going below 2. It seems like it's been holding up to pretty well over the past couple of months since like the end of January. So I wouldn't want to see it going much below 2. That's at least my take. All right, make sure you guys are hitting that thumbs up button. I really appreciate you guys for doing so. Let me catch up on some of the messages. Huffy 650. Yeah, I hear you. It's still, I mean, I don't know. We can take a peek at it again really quick. Let's take a look at like the 1 hour chart and get a sense of what's going on in the shorter time frames. It is like this does look like it wants to make a potential next move because it is putting in higher lows, relatively speaking on the 1 hour chart. So it kind of came to a little bit of a point here. It's coming down to a point, at least on Friday. So we'll see how it opens up. I think if we open up come Monday morning and a lot of companies are coming out with some fresh NFT PRs, right? I would not be surprised to wake up to some stock that drops a PR at like 4 a.m., and it's an NFT PR and that stock's immediately up, 100, 200%. I wouldn't be surprised if the other NFT stocks come up with it as well. Now, how many legs in that move? Could there be multiple legs? How much do they have in the tank? And that's going to be, ultimately going to rely on how the overall market's holding up, how a lot of the top NFT plays hold up, and things like that. DPW, I think, I saw that news on the DPW charging news, right? The order they had. Let's put this together here. Okay, so DPW came back down, and it came down to like this just around this $3 and under two briefly a couple weeks back when we had a big sell-off. Not a terrible spot. I personally don't think that news really mattered, right? Because people were like, whatever, but I would be careful with DPW. You don't want to see DPW dropping below 3 and starting to plummet on down. If you want to look back to the left, we have a support around 3. It had a prior resistance up around 3. 3 is a key level for me. Other than that, down to like 260, 250 could be in the next area to watch. I just really would like to see. A lot of the stocks are kind of at very, very crucial points. A lot of these stocks we're watching, they're very, very crucial. So I don't want you to start bag holding, DPW. Because you're holding it below 3, it starts plummeting on down. And what has the history shown us? That this stock could certainly drop back down to like 150 right after a big run. And, maybe it's a good play at 150, but do you want to be holding a bag from like a $3 average? I personally don't want to right now. So I'm going to keep my cash or free up some cash. You can always get it back into these plays again when they bottom out. So if it holds up around this level, maybe this 295, 290 area, under that, I would probably cut it, unless it wicks down super fast and then recovers right away. I would probably cut it around there. So it's not a bad idea. I like it as an EV play too, because if we get some stimulus news on the infrastructure plan that Biden has with the EV chargers and stuff like that, boom. just like that, these stocks are all going to be in play. So definitely something to watch. Clove. Let's take a look at Clove. BNGO. I don't know. BNGO is an interesting one. Clove is definitely, oh man. This thing is like, it's what we are setting up right now. It looks as if we either have a double bottom setting up around like $7 or so. And this is the same thing for a lot of stocks. You guys have noticed, right? Stocks that have been getting hit hard with the NASDAQ and just with a lot of, small caps selling off, they've pushed down, came down to a bottom, and many of those bottoms, they had these wicks down because we had like a day where the market was getting crushed, and then it came back, wick down, and then they've recovered, and then it's like, whoop, come back down. So it's back down here. Would like to see Clove hold 7. If it can't hold 7, then man, I'm still holding some shares. I'm holding my shares into selling covered calls to kind of minimize my downside. But outside of that, $9, over $9, and Clove is back in the game, but we got to get over 9. So we're going to see. Either what we're going to see right now is we're going to see the stocks recovering, kind of make a W-shaped bounce to the upside, and what we can kind of look at, right, for example, Clove, and a lot of stocks in the same boat. You're looking at, no, it's not going to be straight up, right? But it's going to be something along the lines of a W, who knows the slope roughly, and there's going to be, chop in that. But, you're looking for something like this, or we're going to plummet down back through supports, back below the prior lows, and keep on going down. And who knows how long it's going to be. So that's the downside risk we at least have right now. The fun of the stock market, right? So, yeah. BNGO is one that I have had on the list, not necessarily as a stock that I'm really interested in, but people have always been asking about. So we'll talk about it. Again, what do we see? The same exact thing, right? We kind of have this big drawdown, wick down, pull back, came back up here, hit up to like just shy of $10, then came to 7, is bouncing off 7. So $7 or so. Would like to see that hold. Could it go below 7 and then, recover to the upside? Yeah. But that we would really like to see these stocks recovering from here. They don't have to go straight back up. We really don't want to see that. I don't want to see stocks going straight back up, because then guess what? In a month of stocks going straight back up, we're going to be in the exact same spot we were a month ago, right? We don't want that to happen again. We kind of want to see a slower grind on the solid names. So if you're looking for BNGO, you'd want to see a slower grind to the upside. That said, I think this is a hot sector going forward. But BNGO has a lot of work to do not personally, but as a company, right? Numbers wise, cash burn rate wise, and things like that for a more of mass adoption into BNGO. The canal situation won't do too much. Egyptian president has given the green light for cargo to be taken off the ship. Yeah, honestly, I don't know. It's just funny to see, the canal. So I saw a tweet or something about the canal thing too, saying, that guy who is going to be, or the captain of the next ship that's going to be going through the canal right after this ship gets cleared, has the potential to do one of the most legendary things in history by just get stuck again, right? CCIV, I think, is a stock. Let's take a peek at what it's looking at. I think it's similar, right? We can't see that same W shape, right, potentially forming. We got like the first 3/4 of the W, right? Here's the first leg of the W, push up, pull back, and now do we get the next leg, or do we not? Do we head back on down? I think it's worth a speculative shot. I've been saying it for a little bit now. I think as it pulls back on red days, I think it's worth a speculative trade, because if the company ends up becoming solid and really can establish a really good user base, because here's the thing, when it comes down to, we saw with Lordstown Motors and all that news too, with all these stocks, right, we got to understand and we got to notice is that, right, with these EV stocks, even Fisker, it doesn't matter, right? Fisker is like kind of like my baby in a sense, but I don't care. I'm not married to never going to get married to a stock. If Fisker comes out and everyone hates the car when the car is on the roads, then I'm out of Fisker. I don't care. I don't care. That's how it is. But CCIV, the same thing, right? If we start to see the numbers are great, people love the cars. They're like, wow, these are great. And the numbers are popping on up. And it's like, the next Tesla in a sense, where there's a lot of people who are just, there's a craze for the car, they love it, then that's going to bode well. But we're kind of in that speculative stage where, they can say all they want about reservations and numbers, but if you go online to all these sites and you want to reserve a car, anyone can, we can all reserve cars, but we don't actually have to buy the car, right? We can put our deposit down, $100, whatever the number is, and okay, cool, I got my deposit down for my, my Tesla Cybertruck or whatever, but like, you're gonna actually get the truck? No, maybe not. So that's what I'm watching there. But I think it's coming down the low 20s is relatively a decent spot to give it a shot. Zom is always a fun one. Everyone's talking about Zom. Look at this stock. It's surprisingly holding the 150 pretty well. So that said, What do we got? Zom, is it third? Oh, it's Tuesday is when they have the launch of their True Forma. This is big. This is a big week for Zom, actually. They got their True Forma product launch on Tuesday, sorry. So yeah, it's definitely a stock to watch. My concern with Zom, why I won't personally trade it, is because I'm scared. My concern is to sell the news. The stock's up so much, and I love this stock, and not loved it, but I had fun trading this stock back when it was like 10, 20 cents. I mean, look back here. Going back to last spring, I traded the stock so many times. What they would do is they would have the stock would be sitting here. They drop an offering. The stock would fall to like 11 cents, right? The next 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, we get a big run up. Stock runs up over 100%. Then it comes back down, drops another offering. You get a reset and play it again. So that's what I was doing until eventually what happened is August came along and we didn't get the run-ups. We just got a kind of a perpetual downtrend. But before that, it was fun. Now I just don't want to play a swing, especially in a swing market that we've been seeing that swings are not holding up well. Zom has just too much downside chart-wise for me. So I just can't fathom taking the trade other than like a day trade or something like that. Or if I'm playing it as a swing, it's a pure technical swing where if it falls below like 150 or something like that, I'm out, So that's kind of how I play it. But we got the launch on Tuesday, so be careful with that launch. Understand that that's what's happening on Tuesday. And my issue is that I had EVFM, which we got to talk about EVFM, by the way, really quick. EVFM was my last, I guess, or one of my recent or last year launch plays. Here's what happened at EVFM. It was also, it was one of the stocks that surprisingly throughout the summer was holding up pretty well into September. The stock popped up here, hit 384. I believe I had an average in like the 340s or something like that. So I was up. I took some profits before $4, so I was feeling pretty good. The launch came of their product, and then boom, the stock plummeted on down. The CEO sold shares apparently to buy a family a house, buy parents a house. That's awesome. But the CEO selling shares didn't give investors and traders a lot of confidence. And so it was like, okay, that's not good. The stock falls down to $2 and, was a good trade-off of $2 back up towards $3. I took that, took my profits there. And then I guess what? I played it again back down here, back in the low twos a few months back. And it was a beautiful trade from 2 to 3. And then it actually pushed up to hitting, over 5. So I took a good chunk of that move. I think I sold most of my shares up around 3. And that was it. But we're back. EVFM, I'm not in it, but we're back down to a pretty low area. Why did we drop down this low? They dropped an offering. So they had an offering. Now the offering price, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we can pull it up really quick. I believe it was like 175 or something like that, which, the thing is when you see an offering price with a lot of stocks, see if it pulls up. Here it is. Analysis pricing, 175 per share. Now, does the pricing of an offering really mean too much? To be honest with you, people are like, oh my gosh, stock's trading below the offering price. I got to get in. It's an easy money trade. It doesn't mean it's an easy money trade. But generally, right, you'll see the offering priced around or below where the stock's trading at many times. And why I believe GameStop has just yet to drop an offering, they had the opportunity, I think, is I don't think you can get, kind of a book writer or whatever. I don't think you can get them to do an offering at GameStop's current valuation, right, stock price wise. They want to do an offering down around like $30 or whatever the price is. So if they drop an offering at $30 right now, there's no one willing to do that. No one's willing to do that for GameStop. So EVFM was trading up here over like $2, and they drop a 175 offering. I think that was kind of low. I could have seen like $2. A 175 offering kind of sucks because, to be honest, the support we had in the past like year was down around $2. $2 would have been a pretty good price. So didn't really like that. But we'll see how it kind of reacts. If it gets back over 2, could be a decent trade up towards like 230, 250 back. We have this gap fill up on here. So EVFM, I would take a trade personally. If I'm going to take a trade, I would maybe take a $2 break and play it up to like 225 for like a day trade. I would probably go a little bit heavier in size on that and then use $2 as my stop. So we get over $2. If $2 breaks down to the downside, then I'm out. If we can't hold $2, I'm out. Maybe I get faked out, but it's a trade idea is how I'm going to take it, how I play that one. Okay, sorry if I'm missing things. Let's scroll back through. I'm going to kind of go through a couple things and I will catch on up. Okay. Let's see. SOS, we're waiting on crypto there. SNDL, we can talk about SNDL quick. SOS, though, it's going to be a Bitcoin play, so watching Bitcoin. Riot, Mara, SOS, I put them all in the same category to a degree, so definitely something you want to be watching and focused on Bitcoin. Bitcoin breaks out of the downtrend, which we can talk about in a second. Then you're looking good. SNDL with the New York, right, legalization, there's a vote this week, I believe, as well. SNDL, to be honest, has decent support down in the low ones. So it's not a terrible idea. The problem with SNDL for me is that it's such a heavy stock. And when I say heavy, I mean that it's got a pretty fat, large float. So you need a lot of volume to move it. And the volume has just been slowly fading out ever since February. So we really need a catalyst to a degree. My dad's telling me futures are a bit weak. Little does he know, if he was on the live stream, maybe he'd be, more informed. But apparently my dad's not on the live stream. That said, so down in the 115 area, I think it's worth a shot. It's worth a shot. I wouldn't want to hold it below 1. There is a threat of an offering as well here for SNDL, so I'd be careful. Probably not my favorite weed play if I had to pick. I would probably go with something like NEPT, a lesser known play. Don't want to see NEPT going below 125. So you're playing a bottom play. Yes, I understand. But look what happened last time I played NEPT. Beautiful play. The thing went up 200%. I wasn't in that big, so I didn't make that much, but it was a beautiful play. So I'm looking for I would like NEPT. There's even HEXO is another one as well that's holding up pretty well. HEXO looks pretty good down here in this low 6 range, under 650 or so. I kind of like that spot. Don't really want to see it making, going down below some of these recent lows from like February and stuff. So that's one thing to watch. But I think for the weed space, it's Tilray or bust in a sense of like the leader of the pack. Tilray pushes up, all those stocks are to a degree going to kind of follow along, right? Tilray can't push up, then, Tilray, it's going to hold a lot of stocks back because Tilray was the biggest monster that hit up over, $67 per share about a month or so back. So that's what I'd be watching. Tilray is a leader of the pack. So, it's a patience play here, right? But let's see some more legalization. Now, understand too, a lot of these cannabis companies, these are all Canadian companies, right? So the ties to the U.S. are not as strong, right? So understand that as well. There's even some ETFs. You can probably play the MJ. Is that what it is? MJ? I believe it's the MJ ETF. I believe is one. There are other ones as well out there, but I would look for more of a US based ETF or something like that, and that could be a better shot for some of the cannabis plays. Let's see, scrolling down through. Favorite stock for tomorrow day trade. For day trades, I would wait on the news for the day. So I'd be waiting on what's the top gainer of the day and looking for news. Although if we see, if the market's fairly strong, there's a lot of stocks on my list. I think that you can pick a bunch of entries. For most of my day trades, I'm probably not the guy to be going for the massive gains. If I'm going to be day trading like a top percent gainer on the day, I'm playing with a lot smaller size. And for example, if I'm going to day trade NNDM, right, and let's say NNDM comes out with news or something like that, where they drop an offering and I want to buy the dip, I'm going to go in with a lot more size on NNDM because it's not going to be as volatile, right? Sometimes you play these top percent gainers, you can see a 10-20% spike up and down, in seconds, right? So I'm not going to be playing with as much size on some of those. NNDM is coming to a decent spot. If it holds $8, I kind of like it. So NNDM could be a trade, right, from like $8 up to like $9.50 or so. That maybe you take for a day trade or you play for a larger size. Maybe I'm playing the breakout of like $9 to $9.50. Boom, that's like a 50-cent move. Not a huge percentage move. If we do the math on that, 909 to 950 is like 5% or so, right? So if I take 5%, but I can play with a larger size. For example, if let's say you have a $10,000 account, so you have a $50,000 account, and your max size my max size for swings is 10% of my account. For day trades, what I'll do is I will probably take 10% of my account on an NNDM day trade, right? Because downside risk, I lose 1 or 2%. I'm looking for a 5% gain. So I'm willing to lose 1% off of 10% of my account, which is not a big deal, right? That's how I kind of go about it. So I don't really have the best answer for that because you kind of have to wait and see how things go. We can wake up tomorrow, the market could be down a ton. And then what I do when the market's down a ton for a day trade, I look for some of my swings or stocks I have in my watch list that are down a lot more than the overall market's down. And I'm looking for kind of, where can I find a discrepancy here? What can I play that has been hot? Maybe that's a cult stock, or I've seen people on social media talk about this stock a lot, pumped it to a degree, right? What can one of those stocks that has a kind of a cult following, right? Cult following stocks, I'll go off some of them. SNDL is one. Tell you guys right now, SNDL, GNUS is one for sure. And there's so many out there. But NAKD is another one as well. Some of those kind of like cult names you probably heard quite a bit about. I'll play some of those off of like big dips because, you know, chances are that they recover to a degree at some point by the end of the day or intraday, you know. So it depends on how the market opens up, and that's kind of how I see it. You can plan a trade all you want, but at the end of the day, you know, the market's going to dictate what happens, and you have to adapt. As long as you can adapt and be fluid on the fly to a degree, then you're going to be fine. Yeah, HUFE does look like it has a lot more range. I can certainly see that as well. CIDM is another one of those NFT-related plays. People are kind of calling the connection there as well. So this is one to watch as well. Oh, CIDM, I believe that the CEO, or they came out with some tweets or something along those lines to talk about what their connection is. I would like to see it holding up around this 167 or so. Kind of have a line there as a prior resistance. Could be new support of watching. If not, down around 150 could be a decent area to pick up some CIDM. A lot more volume because I think it's getting that NFT kind of rumor action on it. So we'll see. SPCE, watching that one as well. That one's huge because I think we have the ARKX is the ETF, the space ETF that ARK Invest is going to be launching. This actually looks pretty good. So I think what we saw a little bit at the end of the week, kind of a potential, price in of what's going to happen this week, potentially if the ARK ETF goes live. The question is going to be, right, what happens and what do they have in this ETF, right? So this is kind of a decent spot where it's at, putting in higher lows, bouncing roughly off this trend line around this $27, $28 area. Back over $30, this thing gets a push back up to 35. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a push up towards that level. So definitely one to watch. Definitely one to watch and have high on your radar. In terms of another space-related stock, I have another one right here to pull up. Sorry if I miss. VACQ. Here it is. Got a big list, but sometimes you can't find them. So it's a SPAC play. VACQ is a space play, I believe, from what I was looking at, unless I'm getting it confused with something else. This is one to watch, have on your radar as well for that ARK ETF. Now, you don't have to necessarily be, right, a stock doesn't have to be in the ETF. All it has to be is like a sympathy play to one of the stocks. Like it could be in the same sector. It could do the same thing to a degree or have ties to the same type of business model that one of the stocks that ARK goes after. And then boom, right, you can be in play on something like that. CSCW copyright blockchain. Let's see. The legalization in New York, yeah, that's going to be big for the sector. Although the problem is that, I don't know how stocks are going to react. Space is junk. The problem I have with space is simply, is it a profitable business model, right? So that's the issue that you have. Exploration, that's cool, but are you going to be making money? Can the business make money with what they're doing? So I think a lot of that comes into like satellites, drones. That also somewhat ties into space. And so I think those are some potential ideas and some companies to go after to a degree as well. So that's what I'd be watching. If necessarily some of these space stocks are cool, they sound cool, but ILUS. Not a huge OTC guy, but look, I've seen a lot of hype on some of these stocks. It's sitting in a decent spot for a bounce around this 9-10 cent level. So yes, I just don't want to see this thing going below like 6 cents. Okay, so let's see this level right here. Let's draw a little line in. The lows, we had a double bottom back on the 5th and the 4th of March. You don't want to see it dropping below that level. Ideally, you want to see it bouncing off this area right here on this 8 cent area. So if I'm watching, but we have an upside, it looks like over this like 18, 19 cents is a pretty significant resistance. So we're in this range. It's down towards the bottom of the range, not a terrible spot. I don't know much about OTC. I don't trade OTC, so I'm not the best guy for you there. But chart isn't terrible. MJ stocks on 420, yes. Can I turn up my mic a bit? Let's see if I can pull this up. I can pull this up a little bit. Hopefully that helps. That's like the max I can get it to go. I can bring it in closer too. Sorry. Hopefully that sounds a little bit better. Maybe that was like a glitch or something that went on. Let's see. I wouldn't be surprised about some of the cannabis stocks on 420. I think that's definitely what we would want to be watching. It's kind of funny, but you also got to understand that a lot of people are going to be thinking the same way. So could early April be a better time to start looking at some of those? Maybe that's a better idea, as you want to be in before the herd. But the risk of that, right, is if we see a pullbacks in the market throughout the mid-April time frame, yeah, then that's always the risk, right? Let's see. Yeah, I don't know why the sound. I haven't changed the sound in like any of the streams, which is weird. CCIV cars they do look nice. I will say. I will say. Let's see. Hopefully everyone can hear now. Let me know in the chat if the sound's a little bit better. I will scroll up. I will scroll up and down a little bit. Much better. Okay, there we go. Okay, that's good. Let me go back up because I missed some thoughts, some ideas. Nept, hell yeah, I love it. I like Nept. Hope your money okay. Let's see. Zom, we talked about a little bit before. FSLY. FSLY is one that I have actually been noticing. I think I saw some insider buying or something like that. I think I saw maybe it came up on a tip rank scan that I was looking at. It's not a terrible entry spot down under $70. I mean, we were watching it a while back and it didn't hold 75, but down here is not a terrible spot. Vive. Yeah, Vive is on my list. It is on my list. Okay, let's pull it up. Let's see. It's a bottom play, but if it can bounce off this, 275, this 2 area, this is not a terrible spot. It's on my bottomed out plays is what I have the list called for Vive. So if I'm looking for a bottomed out play, boom, this is one that I'm always have my radar. Vive is one that you can probably always play, buying it at support, buying it towards the bottoms, buying it towards the 52-week low. And almost every time you do that, you can get out relatively soon, next couple weeks or so on a press release, and usually it spikes. Pretty low float stock, so definitely something I would be, I'd be watching. Let's see. If people are holding AMC, I mean, awesome. If you can hold AMC, man, let's see how it's doing. I mean, I'm not gonna play it, but it's putting in higher lows. We talk about it a lot on the second channel because I think always people who want to know. But yeah, I mean, it's still doing its thing. It's putting in higher lows. I mean, over 1450 or so, this thing can blow up. So we'll see. We'll see if the AMCs of the world and the GameStops can keep holding up because they've been holding up pretty well, to be honest. Let's see. Good looking hair. Yeah, I recently got a haircut. Yeah, actually yesterday. Appreciate that. Neo is a stock that I would be wanting to see. We got a lot of, I think Neo's in a spot, sorry, not Netflix, Neo. Neo's in a spot with a lot of the commotion on the delisting and stuff like that. I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into, kind of the legitimate threat and the details behind Neo. And do I think that they have anything fishy going on behind the scenes? I can't say that yes or no to that, to be honest, because that's the only risk, or them not wanting to comply with U.S. listing requirements. I don't think that Neo is actually going to delist from the New York Stock Exchange. I don't think so, but that's the kind of the talk of the town, right? That's been getting tossed around. So Neo's at a decent entry spot unless we see some more downside news or we see some more further negative news. So we'll be watching that one for sure. But I think these are the opportunities. This is the type of opportunity that if you're looking, we always talk about, right, risk management. So for me, right, I'll take 5% or 10% of my portfolio for the long-term portfolio and dump into Neo. Now I already have a decent chunk, but if I have extra cash, I'll take some more cash and dump it into Neo around these levels, because these are the times that, no one's buying. There's the fear, there's the rumors. These are the times you want to buy. When everyone's looking one way on these stocks, same with Baidu. We saw, on Friday, we can talk about Baidu too. Let's pull it up. Everyone's looking one way on, these stocks are going to delist, and then the actual trade may be the other side. So that could be, that could be where you make a lot of money on the other side of the trade. When you see too much chatter on a stock being, okay, this is going to go this way, everyone's all bullish or everyone's bearish, consider the other side. Now, of course, to a degree, with the whole nature of social media, right, the pump is real, right? A pump is real. So, yeah, you don't want to fight against the crowd. Everyone's buying a low float stock. And when we talk about low float stocks, you always want to make sure, to a degree, you have an understanding of what the float is. So a quick way to do that is on finviz.com. There should be a link under the videos, whatever, or just type in finviz.com. You go here and check out the shares float. If you're under 100 million shares, that's how many shares are available to the public. Just notice the float, the amount of shares, and notice the volume bars. If you're seeing that the entire float is being traded multiple times over in a day, that stock has a lot of volume, and that stock is probably a very volatile stock, but just notice that's going to move, right? If enough people buy that stock, it's going to move, right? So under 100 million shares, to me, is a lower float. Really under 10 million shares is like a super low float that can really move. So just pay attention to that to understand the pump effect, right? If everybody's all in on the stock, if there's so much commotion, right? GameStop, right? So much commotion. The stock had, I believe, under 100 million share float. So yeah, you get a million people to buy that stock, and yeah, it's going to go up, right? Everyone buys a couple shares, or you got some people you're buying 20, 30, 100 shares. You got some people who are just buying one, people buying fractional shares with Robinhood, right? That's going to move the stock, right? That's something you got to always pay attention. The Jeremy Fave TTCF. I've been on TTCF since a while back. I was trading it, and then I ended up taking a longer term position right around this area, under $15 down here. And so I'm liking it. Let it dip. I mean, I'm fine with it down to $20. If you want to look at it again, I think it's a decent long term play. Next couple of years, I like it. That's I liked it a couple months back, and I'm still a fan. Let's see. Sorry if I'm going to miss some stuff. NXTD, I think we want to watch in crypto on that one too. CPSH, is that one on my list? Let's see. I don't think it is, but CHPT is on my list. Let's see. This is a decent downtrend we have right here. Let's pull this bad boy up. Roughly. So here's your downtrend. So you want to see this thing getting up over like $14, and that breaks back to the top side of the downtrend. Then $15 will be the 50 SMA, 1550 or so. That's a key area to watch. So those are some levels I'll be watching. I'd be watching for a reversal. The problem here is that you're kind of trying to catch it on the drop. So what I would be waiting for, there's so much upside here, right? You break out of this downtrend, there's a lot more upside. So maybe if you're looking at it, unless you're a long-term play and you're just going to average dollar cost average into your long-term account, right? And you fundamentally believe the stock will be, valued higher in the future, then that's a whole other story. But if you're looking for more technical entry, wait for this thing to break out of this downtrend, confirm up over $15, and then that's a better spot for entry. And then you still have, if you go back to all-time highs, right, you still have 100% range, right? From 15 to all-time highs is 100%. So you still have a lot of range to the upside, even though you may miss out on that, couple percent right here if you're just going to kind of blindly buy this thing as it's dipping without that confirmation of support just yet. Support down around $11. So if it holds $11, you're probably good. I would like to see it holding the lows from Thursday, 1133 or so. Let's see if I'm going to keep on scooting on down. I like skills. I've been seeing some stuff on skills too, in terms of, I was seeing some negative stuff actually, but not really, just kind of people pointing out the downside here, because a lot of people liked it, but people pointing out the downside. Oh, this is not a bad entry point. This thing took a pretty significant sell-off. So I actually think I had it on a list at 1.2. I may look to take a long-term position as well on this one too. I've been seeing a lot of negative stuff on it lately, which to me is usually a good sign for looking at like looking for a swing trade or looking to start a position. It's a stupid way to go about it, but obviously I would like to dive a little bit deeper before I just, before I put money in it. But when everyone's one way, you want to be looking the other way, or at least be paying attention to the other side so you understand what's possible. Okay. I have missed I am missing so much stuff. I'm so sorry. Okay. Let's see. Never had a problem with sound. That's weird. It's kind of weird how the sound is like up and down. I haven't changed anything, so it's weird. It's super weird how sometimes I won't I won't change anything, almost when the sound dies. Yeah, when it comes down to it, guys, please make sure in the chat, don't just put a ticker symbol in the chat, because it's not really helpful. At least put your thoughts, your ideas. Okay, this stock is holding up at like $10. What do you think of it at 10, right? Rather than, I'm not going to be able to see everything. So rather than for the people who are watching the chat, right? For someone to take that idea and maybe go make money on it this week or next week or whatever, or make money on that idea, it's not going to be useful if you just throw a ticker in or throw some spam in the chat. Because then no one's going to care. If you put in, hey, this stock is holding support at 10. What do you think about this price target it has up towards 20? That's more helpful. People might actually want to pay attention to that and look a little bit deeper. And then, we can dive into that stuff. Kmph is one that I've been seeing quite a bit, but I've also played in the past. I actually like where it's sitting. 50 SMA down here, I think this is a good one. People love this one, especially with that approval they got recently as well. Down here, under $10, I think if you can soak up, well, we're seeing actually, this is looking really good. Wow, I got to put this on my list because I like this. We can dive into this one as well. Let me just write it down. This is an awesome idea because I played it back here. We had back in here, I played it from like 6 to like 10 or something like that, which is awesome. Great trade. But now we're looking at it down here. We've been seeing so much weakness in the market in small caps and a lot of growth stocks, right? This stock, I'm not that price targets matter, but we can dive into tip ranks. Price targets, I'm just curious. I think the analysts, there's one analyst here. There's another bad analyst right down here with a half star, which is not good. But we have a Wainwright 12 and then a 28. Now, not that it really matters. But it's, okay, cool. Sentiment from analysts is up. Sometimes that's decent to see. Again, doesn't mean anything. But yes, what we've been seeing is the stock has come down, right? It's tried to come down below like 850 multiple times. And every time it does, what happens? It pushes back up and it doesn't close up that low. It closes above 850 every time. So now we're back down to like $8-9. Same thing to a degree, right? So I like it. And at 50 SMA support, I would say this is probably a decent idea. I mean, swings are pretty tough, but if you're looking for a potential value swing, playing Kmph, don't want to see it going below like $8, $8.25, maybe give it down towards. That's a decent idea. I like Baidu. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a decent rebound trade as well. So let's see. Okay, I'm missing some things. GK and GMC. Yeah, the spam the whole thing with the spam, guys. At the end of the day, too, people who spam stuff to pump the stock, like it doesn't. There's 106 people in here. That's not going to do anything. Not going to pump a stock by spamming in a chat like this. BNGO short term. We talked about it earlier, but I'll briefly touch on it because I think a lot more people are in now. So, okay, what we're seeing right now is it's good. I want to see it holding up around $7. If it can, we kind of have a W shape, push down, push up, has pulled back down, double bottom almost in a sense. You want to see it pushing back up towards $10. I think $10 would be my first target on BNGO. Problem here is that the company fundamentally needs to start living up to the value that we're seeing, the market cap, the value that we're seeing on the stock. So I think that's the issue that people are going to have going forward. If the company, they have a history of burning through cash super fast. I mean, that's the problem that we're watching. Although they're in a hot sector, genomics, right? I understand. But at the end of the day, you can be in whatever sector you want. The company's got to back themselves up. And they just had earnings as well. So that will be something to dive into a little bit too. Setting price targets is a good habit to get yourself into. Yes, 100% too, because what you want to do, that's why I always will mention up towards this price is usually how I would see a first price target. If we hold $7, okay, you're risking 75 cents to the downside. First target here, why am I looking at $10? 50 SMA, this blue line, also have a recent spike up towards just shy of 10. So maybe my actual target's like 9.75. So I'm looking for a $2 upside with about 75 cents downside risk on BNGO. So that's a solid, the more you see these stocks, the more you do it, the more you can kind of quickly, without having to actually write down my PTs and whatnot, you can actually just come in here and say, okay, that's a good trade. I like that idea. So let's see. DraftKings, I think it got hit, right? Let's see. It got hit pretty hard. Yeah, it's pulled back from off 75 is going to be key. The break over 75. Although look at DraftKings, 50 SMA down around the low 60s. This has been like an area that this stock has been getting accumulated every time it comes down here, at least in the recent weeks and months. This blue line, 50 SMA, every time it comes down, it rebounds like very, very nicely, right after. So watching that. Now again, it's going to keep doing that until it doesn't. And when it doesn't do that, of course, there goes the pattern, right, that we had. So I would be watching right here in the low 60s. Under $60, I think we can see some further downside for DraftKings. I really thought, and maybe we do see some more action in the coming weeks with the whole tournament going on, basketball tournaments, right? With some sports betting stocks. I thought we'd see some more PRs potentially on these stocks, and maybe we will. But yeah, so The one that I have is ELYS that I like a lot. I lost. This is a funny story too. I didn't mention it actually in the video from Saturday, but ELYS is a stock that I had a position, and then I actually, instead of buying 100 more shares, I wanted to just slowly average in, because I mean, I'll buy this stock down to like 450. That's a kind of like my low cutoff point. That's like why I have this box. So I bought some. I was going to buy kind of 100 shares at a time to average in. And I ended up buying 500 at a time, I think once. And then I had a much larger position, at least than I wanted to, so I lost. That's why I was one of the bigger losers of the week, because I bought more than I wanted to, and it dipped. Right, I bought it like up over here. I probably bought it at like 675 or something like that at the peak. Not at the peak, but I bought it up there pretty high, and then the thing just it dipped down like $1.50, which isn't a big dip, right? But when you have 1,000 shares or whatever it is, which is more than I wanted to have. Yeah, it's going to be a bigger, dollar loss, right? Okay, catching up. I'm catching up. Florida in the house. That's awesome. Texas. I am currently in Austin, Texas. So Gmbl is another one too that was also in this space. It's the same type of idea, right? It's the same type of consolidation pattern as ELYS is Gmbl. The chip shortage too is also definitely not going to hold. Is not going to be helping stocks like NEO. We're seeing a lot of kind of pauses on a lot of manufacturing and production across a lot of different companies like that, right? In the same sector, a lot of car companies, right, I believe. I was seeing, I think GM maybe. I think I was seeing. I forget if I'm not saying not like I don't remember exactly, but I was seeing some articles and some news this past week. Like NEO longer term, this week can be a bounce back to 40. Yes, I do. That's a decent idea, because we're kind of double bottoming here. And now a lot of stocks are setting up in the same pattern, right? Where they've pushed down, they've recovered, and they're coming back down to that similar level. Now, I think a push back to $40 is a pretty easy trade if we get a nice bounce, if we get a nice green day, a nice bounce down some of these stocks, which we saw some volume coming in Thursday, Friday. So we'll be watching for sure. But we can just as easily see the stocks dropping down below, and the floor drops out and they go for a lot more to the downside. So understand that you have that risk. But if you're going to play it with the stop loss below the lows from the beginning of March, yeah, your downside risk is a lot lower right here. So it's a decent idea for a trade. ARKQ, ARKW. If someone looking for ETFs, it's not a bad idea. Some of the ARK ETFs, they've been pulling back quite a bit. SND on the low ones is not bad. I think it's okay. We just got to see what happens with New York this week. I think that could ignite the fire. The problem is that a lot of small caps, right, took such a hit, and it was like all these stocks would pop on that news and then they'd fall right back. So we never saw a continuation on a lot of stocks other than like the NFT stocks in the NFT sector. So we're not really seeing too much continuation across a lot of sectors. So that's my only concern with the cannabis sector right now, which maybe the New York stuff gets it going. AYRO EV Play wants to run. Let's see. I have had this one on my list for so long. It's a similar kind of chart setup to ELYS that we just looked at. I like it a lot, but I was greedy on dips, so I actually kind of like it down here around under $7. I think is pretty good. You got to be careful on this one in terms of giving it some downside, but I like it under $7. I think is fine. My target would be up towards like 10. Ideally, it would be my target. Although resistance wise, $8 is your first key resistance to break out of. Over 8, then you got upside towards $9, $10. I think you can get to that point a lot easier, but you got to get over 8 first. AYRO, with what they do, headquarters in Round Rock, just outside of where I live. With what they do, the EVs that they kind of have, right? The types of cars, I think it's great for the Biden plan, or what he's at least said in terms of how he wants to get a lot of government vehicles and stuff EV. These other types of cars, that's a vehicles. I wouldn't say cars, kind of that fit that mold, right? They're not necessarily cars. They're more kind of like utility kind of work vehicles. You would see kind of more on like golf courses, on hotels, on kind of resort kind of campuses, stuff like that, kind of doing grounds work. That's kind of what they focus on, which is a whole neat, a whole kind of like niche in a sector, which is good. How long are my swings on average? Generally, my swings are going to be a couple days to a couple weeks. I don't really hold, to be honest, much longer than that. Although right now, I would say they could be a little bit longer because I'm looking at value in the future and for some of these swings, and I I've had a very hard time selling out of them completely. So I'm holding a smaller size. So about 25% of my account are in my swings. Longer term accounts, IRAs, they're fully in the market, right? That stuff never pretty much changes. But my swing account, more active, we trade stocks that are a lot more volatile there. So we could minimize our downside here in a weak market by trimming our positions. And then we can always reload into them as the sector heats up, as we see continuation, as we see consolidation, and as we see a clear trend reversal. That's where you can kind of cash into the upside. And that's at least my plan. Smoking pot is not the future. I mean, I don't smoke, but whether you believe it or not, I just never have. I don't know. I can't say. I know a lot of people just, no, I wouldn't say like they love it or addicted, but like that's just a thing that they like really enjoy doing. It's just a calming thing, right? So I don't know. We'll see how at least the market, what the market decides to tell us, right? Let's see. Make sure you guys are hitting that thumbs up button. I really appreciate you guys for doing so. That is great. Awesome ideas in the chat. Keep it respectful. No spam. And then we are going to have a great chat. We're going to have a great rest of the live. Okay. TRCH actually is one that I've been noticing / it's on my list. I may have seen a comment or two pop up, but TRCH is one I kind of like. So it's at a much better spot. We have the merger with Meta, right? I almost want to say it's a cult stock, where there's been a lot of chatter about it, and it's gotten a lot of kind of hype in the past. So when everyone's complaining is the time to start looking at it. I never took the trade, but people are complaining. I've been seeing kind of a high number of complaints on Twitter and StockTwits. And when you go through sites like Twitter and StockTwits, it's great to type in the ticker symbol on those platforms and just get a sense of like, okay, what's the chatter about for this stock? And so I've been seeing some negative chatter on some of these stocks, and so that's usually a sign, okay, maybe this is the time to go long. I kind of like it down around 175. I wouldn't really want to see it going much lower, 150, 140, 125, worst case scenario. But yeah, we can see it bounce soon. I know a lot of people are looking at it. It's coming down to a much more favorable level for sure. Let's see. The shippers, I kind of think that could be interesting, although we'd have to see how long this lasts. I would want to wait for some kind of confirmation in the shipping sector. I have shippers and oil on my watch list, so I'm just going to be kind of watching and paying attention. One thing I'm going to be watching this week is crude oil. So what's crude up to? I'll be watching this one. If crude starts pushing up past couple of days, past month, here's crude. If crude gets back up over like $65, then I would definitely be watching some of the oil plays. I mean, we've been talking about it for so long. The market hasn't been helpful to us. They just haven't run. I mean, crude. Look at crude the past couple of months. Beautiful. I mean, just straight up. The past year, right? Straight up. But it went negative back in April of whenever that was, right? Back April 2020, right? Or March, I believe. We just never got some of those oil crazy runs, and maybe it takes this canal blockage to do it. Maybe there's some news article that comes out, some news piece that comes out saying, hey, oil prices are skyrocketing because of this, and boom, right? Longer shipping times, it's more expensive. Wouldn't be surprised. In terms of, I can see people are talking about, let's see, let me scroll back through. Talking about some cannabis plays. Yes, we can see, Callum, we can see your messages. Tesla for sure. When it comes to a lot of the stocks that you kind of want, what I would like to do is like when you see a cult stock, when I say a cult stock, if you found the stock from somebody tweeting it on social media, most likely, right? If it's a big account with a lot of followers or someone on YouTube, whatever, most likely if you found the stock there and it's a low float stock, it's a kind of a small cap stock, it's like a penny stock, most likely if it's already had its pump, I would stay away, right? So I would stay far away, and I look for similar stocks in that sector. So, for example, SNDL got so much hype, got so much attention in months past. I don't like it anymore. Right? It's played its game. I got like a hair falling on my eyes. It's run its course to me. So I look for stocks like NEPT, where no one talks about this one. No one talks about Neptune Wellness, also a cannabis company. No one talks about them, whereas everyone talks about SNDL. Right, so that's kind of the shift that I like to do, because many times you can get in on these stocks before the pump. And I have a video on the channel, how to beat the pump. That is like the number one way to go about it, right? When you can get in before everybody else, then you're sitting here with a nice low average, just counting your money as everyone comes piling in, and everyone starts freaking out when they start buying. When they start buying like NEPT back up over 250, everyone's freaking out. Meanwhile, you got an average here at like 180. you're sitting pretty, right? That's how I like to do it. Let's see. Price target analysts don't mean anything. Yes, they don't. That's the thing. We look at them as a guide, as to see, okay, where is the sentiment? But by no means, many times you can see analysts hitting price targets, right? That could be a form of manipulation. So you don't really want to do that. And I think actually too, if we go look at, I believe it was Baidu. If we take a look at Baidu, was it Goldman Sachs? I believe it was Goldman Sachs that came out with a buy rating 5 days ago. Meanwhile, I believe I saw Goldman Sachs, I believe they sold like $10 million or some crazy amount of Baidu stock or something like that. So what did they potentially do? They had an analyst come out with a price target or a buy rating to keep the stock elevated so they can unload all their shares, potentially, this is just speculation, to unload their shares and then to get out. Meanwhile, Baidu plummets after that. So, go figure. That's kind of how this stuff works. That's a form of potentially, we can't confirm that. Manipulation, right? That's how it works. So, all right, let me scroll down. Have a lot of TRCH. I think we're going to have are you bullish on the market? Yes. Because seasonally, or the past couple of years, seasonally, April has been a strong month. It's been a green month. So you see seasonally weakness actually February, March, late February, early March. You see a seasonal weakness. This is just if you be back to history. And then at least the past couple of years, April's been relatively strong in comparison. So this is going to be fun to watch. I mean, we're going to be here the whole time, obviously, but I think we can get a nice rebound. At the same time, a rebound in, let's say, SPY, the overall market, the S&P, we've already seen it pushing up. Does that mean we're going to see tech and we're going to see small caps push up as well? I don't know. So at least as of right now, futures are telling us no for tomorrow. Futures are all red. They're getting a little bit more red as time goes on. The VIX is up a little bit elevated over 1.25%. So we'll see what happens. But looks like, we could certainly, here's the thing. With the way the market pushed up into the close, everyone kind of forgets about that. This type of red is just going to drop us right back to kind of where we were about an hour before the close on Friday, if that's where we open up. And things could change drastically. So keep it on watch. The way that I'm going to go about my plan this week is I have my swings that I'm in, and they're in, and we see some dips. I'll slowly add into them, but I'm going to be focused on more kind of scalps here and there, day trades in the hot sector. I'll swing some stocks for short-term plays in a hot sector. If all of a sudden NFTs heat right back on up, I'll be swinging potentially some NFT stocks for some overnight scalps. I'm playing maybe heavier size on some swings or some day trades for a small percentage gain. And take my few bucks here and there, right? To take my small wins here and there, let them stack on up. That's kind of how I'm going to play. How I'm going to play things, and then stack some of those winnings or some of those hopefully profits into those swings that maybe they pull back because if the market pulls back, maybe they keep pulling back. Stack them into some swings, and we'll keep reloading like that. Skills is pulling back. It's not a terrible entry point, I think, right now. Yes, hit that thumbs up button. I appreciate everybody who's hitting that thumbs up button. That is what we are here for. Let's get 100 likes. We hit 100 likes, and then we can keep going. GME has evolved from cult to religion. Let's see. Shippers was, the thing about shippers that a lot of people made a lot of money on shippers a long time ago, like a couple years back, but they have just since they haven't had a run like that in a long time. So that's the name of the game. We got this guy. He's getting up. It's okay, bud. He just had sorry, I don't know if you guys can see him. He just had his surgery. He got fixed today, which is not fun. He had to just reposition. He's doing okay. He feels so bad. He's all wobbling all over, man. If you guys want to see who I'm talking about, George, a couple videos back, I gave him $3,000 to day trade for me, and you guys can go check out the video on how he did. So let's see. Smash that like button. CIDM had the volume but no price. Yeah, if we look at the volume. Look at this thing. I think it was kind of crazy to see too. The volume was massive on CIDM. It was much more than what it made its run back about a month and a half ago, or 2 months ago. Much more, but they just didn't have the legs for whatever reason, which is kind of crazy to see. But yeah, I hear you on that. But there's also talk, F in the chat for George. I hear you, but there's also talk of this being an NFT play, and the company came out with some tweets as well, kind of not confirming it, but I guess talking about it a little bit. Let's see. SOS. I personally, to be honest with you guys, I'm not a big SOS fan, but I'll trade it. I'll day trade it or swing it maybe with Bitcoin. So that gives us a good kind of segue. Bitcoin. We can talk about Bitcoin, so we can get rid of some of these lines on SOS. $6 would like to see that area, down $5-6 area holding up would be great. I would like to see it getting back up towards. It's got resistance up around $8.75, $9. That's key. But if we take a look at Bitcoin, BTC USD. Let's pull it up. Here we go. Here's where I'm looking at for Bitcoin. So we can see this downtrend. I mean, it's very similar to how the NASDAQ SPY was a couple of days ago. It's very similar. So if we could break out of this downtrend, I would be very, encouraged with some of the Bitcoin plays, the riots, the Maras, and stuff like that, right? Let's see. PLTR coming down. Appreciate that, Callum. Get some rest, man. Get some rest. It's all good. We appreciate what you do. PLTR coming down. Let's see. Yeah, it's at the bottom of my buy range. It's one of those stocks, to be honest, for me personally, I'm gonna probably buy. It's a longer term play. It's in my IRA, so I'm probably gonna be a buyer even if it dips below $20. Probably. Speculative, yes, for sure, but I'm probably gonna be a buyer down there. But it's, again, take some time. It's a longer term play. Let it play out. Give it some time to play out, and then you can always revisit it. Chinese education stocks. My favorite one is Gmbl personally because it's a lesser known play. It spiked up, came right back down. So if these are hot again tomorrow, Gmbl is my pick. It did this before too, where it had a day, pulled back. The next day was a bigger day. So we'll see if these Chinese education push up this week. I don't know. I would not be surprised if let's see, stocks like WAFU. Let's see. WAFU. How is this one doing? WAFU is sitting here at like 1250 or so. It's got a lot of range to the downside, but we'll see. This thing has a super low float. It tends to kind of go nuts and run like crazy. CLEU is one as well. EEIQ is another one. But Gmbl for me is kind of my hidden gem to a degree. What's up, bud? He's on the move. And he's down. I don't know if you guys can see him. He likes the cold floor sometimes. Sometimes it gets too hot on his bed. Let's see. C said, don't like it, but let's see. Bitcoin's. I think Bitcoin is setting up for the next leg, personally, if I have to say. Again, we can take a peek at this. This is broadening things out. Yeah, relatively speaking, let it pull back. It's not the end of the world if Bitcoin pulls back. Even if 50K, if it comes back to 45K, it's not the end of the world for people who are freaking out. The way that I manage my Bitcoin is that I had a decent amount from way back here. I was kind of anticipating the all-time high break. We got it. So I bought a decent amount and I trimmed off my initial investment and I'm riding the rest. On top of that, I'm depositing a little bit here and there. If I see a dip into my, into my BlockFi account, you earn some interest on that, on your crypto. Kind of cool, but I deposit a little bit of money there, so I have some money there as well. Which, that's another thing we'll be talking about, I think, at some point in the future. They reached out, so we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Let's see. I want to pull up a couple stocks, too, that I have on my list. On top of a lot of the ones we talked about. TTMP for a bottomed out penny stock play. TTMP is the one it's bottomed out. I'm gonna get rid of this. Another one to have on your list is a bottomed out play. These are not stocks. I'm not saying, buy these stocks. Just I have a massive list of like 50 stocks here on this list. I would never have 50 positions at once. No, there's no way. So, they're all a list. So if I notice something, hey, all of a sudden bottomed out bios are running again, I got my bottomed out plays. I dive on in. TTMP comes up. Boom, we enter. We drop a little entry, right? That's how I kind of go about it. Yeah, man. Callum's not even a swing trader. He's crushing the day trades. He comes in. He's awesome. He takes the dips on scalps the top gainers. If he seriously knows what he's talking about. So pay attention for those who are in the chat. PLC came down, lockup period, all insider selling. mixed with. I'm curious actually. Well, while we're sitting here, I'm curious of PLTRs. What price targets are looking like. So we got a kind of a mix. We have a mix. We have a couple buy. Well, not really a mix. We have buys. These are from a while ago though. So we got buys at 19. We got 40. Got 34, 45, and a 31. So the analysts are actually putting. Oh, this is not PLTR. Man, my bad. Sometimes I type in the wrong ticker all the time. Sometimes I type it in all the time. Doesn't make sense. Sometimes I type it in. PLTR, okay, upside price target averaging here at 25. There's a decent amount of sells here. So we have, these are all fairly recent. A 34, we got a 15, a 19, a 40, a 20, 27. So we got a kind of a wide range for sure. But one thing to also note is what I like to do is filter by 3 stars and above, and I take those more seriously. So if you go by 3 stars and above, where your downside targets, you're talking about Citigroup and Morgan Stanley with 19 and 15. We're pretty close to 19 as of right now. So 15 will be a downside target. And then as of late, more recent targets, you got 27 and a 40. So yeah, just something to have in your mind, in the back of your head. MBIO. I think we've been seeing some MBIO action. I think have I played this one? Mustang Bio. Yeah, this is actually one of those, these are the types of consolidations. I like this kind of area, right? You're kind of grabbing something with these types of plays too. You're grabbing stuff. You got to anticipate downside. So always have cash to add in on dips, because this thing can come down to like 250 like that. And if you don't have cash to buy the dip, you can recover. This thing can recover from 250 up to like $4 on news in a day, right? Or more, right? So be careful, but you always got to have cash available, I think, at times like that. Think Tank, thanks for coming in. Appreciate you. Hope to see you guys. I'm going to be doing lives like every Sunday night. We do lives, and then Wednesday mornings, unless my girlfriend has a meeting, because she sits right behind me during the day. Unless she has got a meeting on Wednesday mornings, we'll do Wednesday morning market open for about an hour or so live trading. If I'm doing stuff, I'll be I'll be trading obviously, and we'll be talking what's going on in the market. LGHL. They're talking about a PR. Yeah, I think LGHL is one as well on my list, and it's been popping up. I think this is one to definitely. I think I've been seeing some crazy targets in this one too. The volume is here. Look at the volume. The past month. Look at this volume. The volume is certainly here. So the volume is definitely here, which is good. So could this be setting up for a nice press release? I wouldn't be surprised. But I'll dive into this one a little bit later. If we don't get some PR this Monday, then I'll be watching this one. 9 million share float, so it's a low float stock, so this thing is going to move fast when it moves, so just be aware of that. Yeah, WIMI, WIMI, I have shares, but I've been seeing people play options too. You get an NFT PR, and this guy, those options are going to be crushing it. But I'm more the share guy, so I'll buy more shares this week. The longer it sits down here, if it goes under 6, I'll buy more. That's how I'm going to play it. PLTR shows I wouldn't be surprised if we see a bounce there too. I would like to see the NASDAQ bounce. The NDX right here, NASDAQ 100 index. I want to see the NASDAQ getting back up to like 13.3. And if we get back over 13.3 on NDX, then I would be, a little more comfortable to a degree in the tech stocks. I mean, it's a good pullback, I think, though, for sure. We saw a crazy run on tech, so it's a good pullback. PLTR is just because you lose money on a stock doesn't mean that it's trash. Because somebody else made money, it's all relative, right? It's all relative. The market is so unpredictable. I have my dog. Yeah, and he's a foster dog too. He's not even my dog. So I'm giving a lot of trust. I'm giving him I'm giving my money. So we'll see if we do it again. EBON is one that I've also been watching. I've had it on my list for a Bitcoin play. Not this one. We want EBON. This is one to watch as well. Let's pull it up. It's pulled back. I think at $7 is a decent area. It was an area we had as prior support resistance. So at least I have that line there for some reason. So I did that in the past. So that's an area to watch. If it comes down towards like $7, down here under 8 could be a decent area. And if we get some Bitcoin action, then EBON makes it run to 10 plus, and you take your profits. Is how I'd see it. It could be a longer term play too if you really are into that. But I like to scale out on the spikes. So that's at least me. Let's see. Discord. I don't have a Discord, but I'm in one. I always like it in my videos. It's probably. I've been paying for it for a long time. I mean, I know people who like the paid and the free and stuff. It's the reason why I leave it in the description is because it's a resource I've used. It's prosperity trading. I've been in it for over a year and a half probably. I can't tell you how much it's probably ended up returning me. But, in terms of cutting the learning curve, and they're just great people there. So that's one that I like. But again, everyone has their preference on paid, free. I'm never going to make one in terms of like charging people money for stuff. I'm never going to do a course, Discord, never going to do that stuff because I just don't think there's a point to charge people for something that if you learn the skill, you can make endless amounts of money. So why would you charge? And then the problem is that then people get into that mode of like, okay, I have a product. Rather than being real and showing the losses and what I did on Saturday's video, showing the losses and being able to learn from that, it's end up promote. I have to look like a god. I must be perfect. I can't show you anything anymore. I need to be perfect. I'm the best so that you guys can keep paying. So that's kind of how it becomes. And I don't want that to ever be a factor in how I do things on YouTube. So that's kind of my take on that stuff. That's just me. SGBX, actually, here's my thing on SGBX. BLNK, they have a deal with BLNK. So here's my take on SGBX. When BLNK, I think it's BLNK, right? Or Plug? It's BLNK, I believe. When we get the news potentially of this infrastructure package, if there's money being directly allocated to EVs, EV charging, which was quoted in some articles, SGBX with that partnership with BLNK is kind of like your, I guess, underrated play that is going to be unfound, I think initially until people catch on. But you kind of have a downtrend here. So, down here is not a terrible spot. I would like to see some more support though. But once it gets back over $5, could be a better area to take a reversal trade. So that's that. Skills near balance levels needs to show strength. I think it's not a terrible idea. Pull that one up. I think we talked about it a second ago or about half hour ago or so. Yeah, skills at the 200 SMA is not a terrible spot. But it's coming down a lot. I think I was going to dive a little bit deeper in this one this week, I think, and see if I want to take a position long term because I got to figure out my long term stuff. So I got to pay my taxes soon, and so I was planning on. I have a couple different accounts. I use one of my long term swing accounts as kind of a cash park and also tax accounts. I'll leave cash in there. I'll be in long term swings that are less volatile, and then I'll take money out for taxes. And I want to kind of redistribute and kind of consolidate into my top couple plays. And then, pay the taxes or whatever, and then kind of go from there and just reset for the next year. That's at least how I do it. That's it. And when you guys put some good stuff in the when it's instead of just like saying this stock, that stock, when you put some awesome comments, it's helpful. It's a lot more helpful, people. Let's see. I'm curious. I was one stock to watch as well. Apple. I'm just kind of curious how Apple's doing. Yeah, it's holding the trend line. So Apple could be, if tech bounces, Apple could be setting up. But a lot of these stocks, though, we're seeing the same thing. Well, a lot of these stocks are at support. They're at bottom levels. They're at prior areas of support. So we could certainly see them bouncing and everything goes back to normal. And it's like, okay, cool. Or we could see these stocks plummeting below support, and we see the NASDAQ coming back down. We see a SPY gets a fake out where we thought, oh my gosh, all-time highs are coming, $400 coming on SPY, and then boom, it plummets. Maybe that's a fake out move. I don't know. We'll see. Let's get to 100 likes. We can't end the stream until we hit 100 likes. So that's it. How often do I post live videos? Live videos right now are Sunday nights. 8 p.m. Eastern, and then currently they are Wednesday mornings around the market opens. So like 15 minutes before the market opens, we go live for about an hour or so. That's at least the current thing. And if something crazy happens, then yeah, I'll probably go live whenever. But those are the current two schedules for lives. So I think that's fun. I think weed's gonna run. We've been waiting. I think a lot of people have been waiting for the next run on cannabis. So we'll see. Let's see. What else? We'll wrap things up here in a sec, but we got to hit that 100 likes. Let's see. Futures are still a little red, but nothing too bad. 94 likes. We can run that up a little more. Tech is going to be down a little bit as of right now. S&P, Dow. Yeah, it's going to be down, but we'll see. It doesn't mean that this is going to end up being how we open up. With the volatility we've been seeing lately, this shouldn't worry you. Just shouldn't worry you. I think we also want to take a peek, too. I want to look at government bond yields. The 10-year, how is the 10-year? It's up to 165. It's been kind of uptrending the past couple of days, so it's not great, but I think the reason why everyone talks about the 10-year is because it's been pushing up. But if you look at like the all-time chart on the 10-year, look at this. it's just downtrending. So you don't really want to see it getting up over like 250, and then that maybe really like $3. If it gets over 3, then then that breaks the downtrend. But if it continues to go into this downtrend, then it's like, okay, we're in the same pattern. I think that's what everyone's going to be like, okay, it doesn't really matter. I think that's what we kind of have to see. And it's going to take some time for this, I guess, worry to kind of, lose people's kind of mind, I guess, or to kind of or be erased from people's mind. I think we're seeing a lot of overhype on how this is really being impacting. I don't think it's a big deal, personally. There it is, 100 likes. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate you guys tuning in. My portfolio is praying for a weed run. I mean, that I hear it. I hear you. Let's see. Go back here. I want to see ACB while we're talking about some weed plays. ACB is one that's pulled back quite a bit as well. Much more favorable spot down under $9, around $9. Got some support down here at like 825, and then some further support down around 7675 area. So those are some levels I'd be watching for ACB. Yeah, you guys can see him in the background. I mean, I don't even know. Yeah, you can. He's got the cone on. Yeah. It's like we got this cone, but it's not actually working because, I mean, he's so out of it right now. So he can't really reach his area. But it didn't really work because he went to go lick it before he could reach it. I was like, oh man. So we got to be careful with him, but I think he'll be okay. He'll be okay. Let's see. Let's see. Like for George's speedy recovery. Yeah, he'll be fine. He had a seizure too, though, they said on the table, which is kind of scary. We don't know much about him, and I'm going to wrap things up. So those who are coming for the stock stuff, we're pretty much going to be done with that. Usually we go about an hour and a half. So, you can always go back and rewatch the beginning. We talk about a lot of stocks on the stream. But I'll kind of wrap things up. I'll mention a couple little things, and then we'll wrap it up. But yeah, he had a seizure on the table, apparently, when we dropped him off, and they gave him anesthesia. And so, I mean, we don't know. I mean, we've had him for about a month and a half as a foster. So, we don't know much about his history and medical. We don't know how old he is, to be honest. They think he's like, they say he's 6, but I think he's like 8 to 10, honestly, because he seems older. His teeth are kind of, grinded down, and he's got some white all over his face. So I don't know. Well, hopefully he's okay. They said if he's not okay by tomorrow, come back and we'll see. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, he's definitely a little bit older than what they said 6, but I don't know. Maybe that's a tactic to get someone to adopt him sooner. We would do it, but personally, I don't want to. I would rather give him to somebody who is going to be fully committed in like the next year plus. When ideally, right, we want to get a dog, but we want to get a dog after we do some traveling and stuff. So ideally, once things get back to normal travel-wise, want to do some of that, then settle down maybe a year or two and get a dog. So that's a plan. EVFM, yeah, I like it honestly down here as a potential trade, idea. But I didn't like the offering price, to be honest. That was kind of an thing to me. I kind of like NEO as well for a nice rebound play. I'm buying NEO in the long term. I think it's when everyone's selling, that's when you want to be looking at buying. Yes, George is the dog right here. I don't know if you guys can see him. 7 a.m. PRs is the time. We're probably going to talk about, we'll talk about pre-market stuff in a future video for those who are curious about that stuff, how to go about some, I guess, strategies on pre-market plays. The problem with pre-market, people always ask tools that you use. Do you need a trade idea scanner to get news? No. For swings, and really for most stocks, you don't. For most plays, you don't. If you want to be someone who's going to be getting in the second a company drops a press release, then yeah, it's helpful to have one of those news scanners. For most people who are new, it doesn't matter. You don't need that type of stuff. So we'll see. Other than that, other things that I would say, people have been asking me about things that I pay for that are worth or at least things that are like a monthly fee or like monthly, that actually are worth it. Trade ideas, if you're like an active day trader and you want news and you want news fast and you want like all the different kind of, see the press release, you want to see the headlines, you want to be able to see everything in one place, it's probably worth it, but it's going to cost money for someone who's just starting out. It's not worth it. Tip ranks recently has been like my absolute, I've been loving this in terms of finding stocks. Like I've been going into the research tools, There's a penny stock section. There's insiders. There's trending. You can really get a good sense of a lot of sentiment, which doesn't necessarily mean that, oh my gosh, everyone's bullish, stock's going up. That could be really good to kind of identify where the opposite of the trade is, and that's where the money's made, right? Many times when everyone's looking left, you look right, and then that's where you'll find the money, right? So I think it's awesome. I've been liking it a lot. So I would say this is probably worth it. In terms of FinViz, the elite version, I would say if you have tip ranks paid, you probably don't need to buy. You don't have to pay for FinViz. So pick one of the two, I would say. FinViz free is fine for doing your research and stuff like that. So other than that, though, that's really it in terms of like stuff that I pay for, trading related, level 2, I pay for like $2 a month or something on Webull. Outside of that, there's not much you really need to pay for. You can get Scan, 7-day free trial. Okay, Scan's another one as well. So yeah, I mean, outside of those things, I don't think you need to do, in terms of paying for stuff, there's not too much more you got to pay for. Let's see. Give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish, he'll fish for life. That's the name of the game. And I say name of the game all the time. I know. I got someone saying in the comments, stop saying name of the game. But that's what I say. That said, guys, I'm going to wrap things up here. We can take a last second look at futures. They do look a little red, but I don't think it's anything to be super, super scared of. We saw a crazy rally into the close on Friday, so I think a nice pullback is certainly fine. Anyone who's tuning in late, you guys can, of course, rewatch this as we went through. And if you are tuning in and new, every Sunday night we do go live from 8 p.m. Eastern for about an hour and a half. So we are also going live Wednesday morning during the market open for about an hour and a half, same type of thing. Outside of that, make sure you are subscribed here. Subscribe to the second channel, which should be linked in the description box down below, Stock Trends. Use that as a watch list. That's what I've been using it for in terms of providing a lot of ideas. I'm never going to tell you when to buy and sell a stock. I don't like to play into the hype. We just kind of what's in front of us, technical analysis, how do we trade off this stuff, and that's the name of the game, as I always say. That said, I'm going to wrap things up here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video.